With the season just about to start, I've got some good news and some bad news. What's cracking, everybody? I'm Scott, and we are back with some more Seattle Kraken news on the eve of the Kraken's first game of their inaugural season. Though this video is much more likely to come out the day of their first game, as I have another video I have to edit and get out before tomorrow's game as well. So we're definitely going to have to keep this one a little bit on the shorter end, but there's definitely some stuff I wanted to get to. And we'll start with the good news because, well, that's what came out first. And that starts with the Kraken picking up a young 24-year-old center off of waivers from the Tampa Bay Lightning in Alex Barré-Boulet. Now, Barré-Boulet has been a strong scorer in his time at the AHL level, where a couple of years ago he put up 68 points on 34 goals and 34 assists in 74 games. The year after that, it was 56 points on 27 goals and 29 assists in 60 games. And then last year had 12 points in 10 games on 8 goals and 4 assists. So very nearly a point per game player and scoring goals and assists at about an equal rate, which is definitely a good sign from a goal scoring standpoint for the Kraken. And especially at the center position, where they'll definitely need the help down the road. Or maybe not so far down the road, as we're about to see a little bit later. But there still is a couple more pieces of good news that the Kraken put out on social media the day before their first game. And that was the announcement of a captain and 4 assistant captains going into their first game. Now, outside of the fact that it may have been a bit of a surprise to some people, myself included, that the Kraken even picked a captain in their first year, especially after Vegas waited a couple of years for their first captain, it was not a surprise at all to see that they chose Mark Giordano as the captain for the team. He had been referred to by a number of players as the leader pretty much since the expansion draft, and if they were gonna pick a captain, it was pretty much guaranteed to be him. Now, I've seen some people overreacting to this and trying to make it a bigger deal than it is, and saying that the Kraken shouldn't have picked a captain in their first year, especially not one that's set to be a UFA at the end of the season and could just spend 1 year in Seattle. But even if that does turn out to be the case, it really doesn't matter all that much, and they could just as easily pick another captain for next year or choose to wait until somebody proves it, maybe either during the course of this season or seasons to come. Ultimately, Giordano is a great leader and can help bring a new team together for the first time, and putting the C on his chest just helps solidify that fact, and I really don't see any way that this could be a bad thing for the team this season. As far as the 4 assistant captains go, those would be Schwartz, Jordan Eberle, Yanni Gourde, and Adam Larsson. So then with the 5 guys that they have as either a captain or an assistant captain, it seems like we could very well end up seeing all 5 of them on ice at the same time, as the 3 forwards, who are all assistant captains, do look like they're set to be this team's first line once Yanni Gourde comes back from his injury. As far as the defensive end is concerned, it does somewhat surprisingly look like Hayden Fleury is likely to start the season alongside Giordano, but Adam Larsson would definitely be a strong candidate to also end up beside Giordano at some point, especially considering how Alexiak's season is getting started. Which brings us to the bad news. That being the thing that the Kraken announced not an hour after announcing the captain and assistant captains for the season. The fact that 5 players will be starting the season on COVID protocol just a day before the first game, which all 5 of them are very likely to miss at the very least. Those 5 players being Järnkrok, McCann, Donskoy, Alexiak, and Marcus Johansson. So that definitely takes a pretty big chunk out of the Kraken's starting offensive unit, with McCann, who was set to be the starting center of the first line. Donskoy was looking like a wing of the second line, and then Johansson and Järnkrok were gonna figure somewhere into probably the third, maybe fourth lines. And of course, Alexiak likely to start as a first pair defenseman. So again, missing 4 forwards, including your first line center, as well as a first pairing defenseman. Definitely not a way you want to start off the season against the best team in your division. Now, hopefully these guys can test negative and get out of the protocol sooner rather than later, especially with games coming up on Thursday and Saturday, and also that none of them get too sick from this. As far as I know, they were all vaccinated, as the vast majority of the NHL is, so again, I would say it's hopefully pretty likely that none of them got too sick, but we really don't know much past the fact that they're all in the protocol. It doesn't even necessarily mean that any of them got sick, but again, it's not the way that the Kraken were wanting to start out the season. As far as what this has the lineup looking like, well, I think we're pretty much back to the drawing board here, and it's anybody's guess. I mean, the first line is likely to be pretty much the same, just with Winberg taking McCann's spot, leaving Eberle and Schwartz as the wingers. Then the second line, well, the second line that they had in their last practice was Johansson, Donskoy, and Wenberg, so two of those guys are now in protocol, and Wenberg is up to the first line, so then that would mean that the third line might just move straight up to the second, which does look like a pretty exciting line, being Donato, Geeky, and Appleton, but it's a young line to have as your second line in the first game of the season. Hackstall did also say that they're still trying to figure out how to even fill those roster spots that are now available from those 5 guys being out until they're back, even saying that one of those spots could very well end up going to the newly acquired Barré-Boulet. So yeah, things are about to get pretty interesting. The only silver lining I guess you could find to all of this is that with 5 roster spots now open, they were sitting at 3 over the max roster, so they don't have to make any hard decisions by waiving somebody like Borgen or Fleury just to be able to keep Soucy and Lauzon on the roster. Which, again, those are guys that probably would end up getting claimed by waivers before they got to the AHL, so it's probably for the best that the Kraken have a little bit more time now to figure out what to do about potentially trading a couple of guys off of the defensive end. But again, the main thing here is that hopefully if any of those guys did get sick, they didn't get too terribly sick and can return to the roster sooner rather than later, as the Kraken certainly could use them. But I'd love to see what you guys think down in the comment section below about what this lineup could end up looking like now for tomorrow night's game. And also, if I haven't already put it on Twitter, or if you haven't seen it, I will be doing a live stream for that game. Again, a watch along stream. So if you're new to hockey and have any questions and want to hang out and ask some questions about the game and get to know it better, I'll be happy to answer any questions during the game. And if you've been around hockey for a long time and just want to come hang out, then again, first game of the Kraken's regular season in their history. It'll be a fun stream to kind of hang out and be a part of. So hope to see you guys there, and if not, enjoy the game wherever you're going to watch it, and let's just hope this season gets off on the right foot as much as it can with this recent news. But of course, if you have made it to this point, as always, thank you very much for watching. If you did like or enjoy this video, there are buttons for that kind of stuff down below that I would always appreciate you using. Until next time, stay safe out there, stay healthy, and go Kraken.